Well, hello, everybody. I'm Shannon O'Kelley, and he is Dr. Chris Hawkins, orthopedic surgeon, sports medicine specialist in the Olympia, Washington area. We are here going into week 8 of our Start or Sit podcast. We're talking about the previous week's injuries and whether or not that player is going to start or is going to need to sit to recover. This is important for you fantasy football players because you may have to change your lineup. Dr. Hawkins, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm enjoying the fact we've got another day of sun, though it does sound like we're going to start getting some cold weather. I heard there was a lot of snow up in the passes last night.
3,000 feet on Snoqualmie Pass here in the Northwest. So it's dropping down. It's going to get cold. My heater finally kicked on last week, so I thought, we're changing seasons. So we're going to be wet, but we're going to have fun, aren't we? We're still having fun, even though it's going to be cold and wet outside.
Yeah, and we've got great football, so that's all good.
Absolutely. Here we go. First player, running back, Los Angeles Rams, Jermone Ford. They're calling it a low-grade high ankle sprain. Again, for you listeners, this is a high ankle sprain. So, Dr. Hawkins, this player, running back, Jermone Ford, was seen in a walking boot after the game last Sunday, and they've got a game coming up this week. And so I don't know. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, we've all learned now after going through our ankle anatomy that once they start tossing out that high word, it definitely is a problem. So, when these injuries happen, we've talked about how it twists the foot. And so, it's a lot of times the ball runners engage, somebody's tackling him and they drag him down and their body sort of lands on his lower leg. And so it pins his lower leg and his foot in one position while the knee gets torqued. And so that tends to separate those two lower bones. So, an injury like this, he is a bit of a workhorse for them. He normally puts a fair amount of touches on in the game. And so he's going to be somebody that they're probably going to be sitting him this week. They do have a little bit of depth. They have Kareem Hunt behind him as well. So I expect he'll be just rested this week. That'll give, I think he's playing against the Seahawks this weekend. So, hopefully that'll give Seattle a good opportunity to take advantage of them being a little thin in that position. But I think he's going to be a sit for this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. Being the fact that it's a high ankle sprain, like you described, a lot more tissue damage or irritation, if you will, takes a little longer to heal. And he was seen in a walking boot after last Sunday's game. So Jermone Ford, if he's on your team, he is most likely a sit this weekend. Jalen Hurts, QB. What do they call it? The tush push? Is this the guy that's kind of caused that to be kind of the fad in the NFL? The tush push, they call it, right? He's quarterback, big guy.
Yeah.
Big guy. He's got a hurt knee. All I've been able to find is he's got this knee that's injured, but he's supposed to practice this week, and so sounds like an injury. What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, he's a grade 1 MCL. It's pretty clear. He actually came into this week with it banged up a little bit, but they were keeping a low profile on it, low lid on it. And so he just kind of took a hit low going out of bounds. And I think they just put the brace on. He came back in, played right away.
Yeah.
They just gave him that, like you said, they're relying a lot on that goal line play and a lot of people falling on you. And just like you see, the offensive linemen are all sporting those functional knee braces to avoid that valgus injury to their knee. It was just smart for them to put a brace on him and let him take advantage of it, especially because they were just grinding out that yardage against Miami to, take advantage of the tush push. So the good news is he isn't going to miss any time. It is just a grade 1 injury, essentially, as you know, Shannon, usually no disruption of the fibers, just pain with stress. And so you're just trying to avoid injuring or tweaking that area, maybe progressing it slightly, but he'll be a full play.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny because I think it went from the bush push to now it's the tush push. And I was watching a game the other night, and there was a quarterback. I can't remember which game it was, but they were on the 1 yard line, and everybody was calling out they're going to do a tush push. But the quarterback that was playing, I forget who it was. It might have been Kirk Cousins. I felt sad. I felt bad for him because he is not the size of Jalen Hurts. they didn't get the yardage. He didn't get the yardage that Jalen normally gets. But so Jalen is going to play grade 1 MCL.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, one thing too, and this is my Philly background coming in. So just so you know, in the Philly community, they don't like tush push. They like to call it the brotherly shove. So it's instead of brotherly love, it's the brotherly shove.
I love it. That's my bucket list. My bucket list is someday to go to a Phillies game at home wearing a Dallas Cowboy jersey and see if I can get out of there alive.
Yeah, that is a questionable choice.
Maybe you'll go with me. Okay, here we go. Saquon Barkley. This guy, man, I mean, the Giants, New York Giants, running back. I think earlier in the season, he was one of these players that I believe we talked about him at an ankle sprain, maybe even a high ankle sprain. He was out for 3-4 weeks, came back. He's looking good. The Giants actually look pretty good with him being back. And now he hyperextended an elbow, but he played. But that's kind of a tough injury sometimes. I'm just wondering if he's going to be able to go again this weekend.
Yeah, he kind of plays that sort of, hit the line and spin. So he's that classic person that puts his hand down sometimes to, avoid knee contact and keep going forward with the play. So, that's the classic injury where you can hyperextend your elbow. The benefit of the elbow is it's a more constrained joint. So when you get to that point, a lot of times it won't go past neutral, won't go too far. And as long as you don't dislocate it, which obviously didn't occur here, it's usually just a soft tissue stretch, and it's usually muscular. So it's sore, it's uncomfortable, and usually it's uncomfortable to fully extend it. But he did get back in the game. He did play with just an elbow support on. So I think he'll be a full play. I don't think it'll compromise his ability to do anything. Obviously, if he takes a big hit and puts his arm out, his left arm out to stabilize himself, that's the one risky position that arm could go into. But I think this is just a little nicked up injury for a running back like him, and he'll be a full play in the game. Yeah,
Saquon Barkley, full play, and he looks good. And the Giants need him. They look a lot better with him in the game. Obviously. Hey, as an orthopedic surgeon, sports medicine specialist, we're talking about the elbow real quick. You talked about an elbow dislocation. I think in my lifespan of 35 years being a physical therapist, I think I've probably seen, maybe 2 or 3 significant elbow dislocations. It's very uncommon just by the way the elbow is put together. We don't see it much in football. We see these hyperextensions. In your practice, have you seen a lot of elbow dislocations?
Yeah, definitely not. I think I've seen a few more than that, and they are generally, if they happen, they're contact sports. My number one thing back in Pennsylvania were actually wrestlers. Wrestlers, get caught up with all their weight. They'll get lifted up, and they'll throw that one arm back to avoid getting slammed. And so that's the classic injury where it happens. And, it's interesting, as there's more women getting into wrestling now, I actually started to see that happening a little more commonly there. And, just like all these other ligamentous injuries, you probably think, again, it is a more constrained joint, but there's probably some general baseline ligamentous laxity that on average is a little more common in women than men.
Yeah, right.
And so those injuries may start to pop up a little more as we start to see, that wrestling participation kicking in at the age group and the high school level for girls now.
Yeah. I'm going to give you an age generational question here. In my day, you mentioned wrestling. I remember as a kid watching Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Do you remember Jimmy Snuka?
Yeah, the interesting thing is he's actually from the Lehigh Valley. He's from Easton, Pennsylvania. So there's actually a wrestling school named after him for learning to do pro wrestling back where I came from.
Oh, man. On a Saturday afternoon when you were watching that wrestling and he'd get up on the turnbuckle and do the Superfly, man, as a kid, you were giddy. So Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Exactly. Yeah. Zach Ertz, big-time name, big-time tight end. Arizona Cardinals not having such a great season this year. He's got a strained quadriceps, and it sounds like he's going on the IR most likely. So this must be a significant enough quadriceps strain, tear, etc., that he's on the 4-week IR list. Is that what you think?
Yeah, Yeah, he's got, we've talked a couple times, I think, about the anatomy of the quad, obviously being 4 muscles. And the superficial one is your rectus femoris. And that's the one that it'll extend to your kneecap so it crosses your knee, but it also crosses the hip joint and attaches to the pelvic bone just above the hip joint. So he had an injury. His injury is related to his rectus. And so they tend to kind of really put the brakes on those guys nowadays, because that one can actually progress into a rupture if you don't leave it alone and take good care of it. And that's why he's going on the IR. It is the more common one to get injured, and he is getting a little long in the tooth. He's getting a little bit older, so that flexibility and stuff isn't as good. He has lost weight. He's not as big and hefty a guy as he was before, but interestingly enough, they're using him more as a blocker. So, he's probably just putting a little more stress on his body against bigger guys. And, they do have a decent backup tight end. So, he would be a sit this week. And if you have the ability to pick up the backup tight end, McBride, I would pick him up and play him in your fantasy league.
Yeah. Speaking of, Philadelphia, Zach Ertz, he got a start in Philadelphia, didn't he? And didn't he play with the Philadelphia Eagles start out with?
Yeah, exactly, and he was a beloved guy there. When they kind of let him go, partly I think because of money, and partly because they had Dallas Goedert in as a rookie, I think, and had a good rookie year underneath him. It's the NFL, it's a business. If they have somebody they think can fill that role and get paid 25% less for 3 or 4 years, they'll go that route.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize it was tight end appreciation day the other day, and it's amazing these teams in the NFL that have good tight ends they have good records. Pretty important position with a lot of offenses.
Yeah, I was super impressed to find out, they had that Monday night game, and to find out that both Hawkinson and what's his name? I'm blanking on his name.
Kittle. Is it Kittle?
Kittle, yeah. They're both Iowa guys.
Yes,
both Iowa guys, and that Laporta, who's in Detroit's an Iowa guy, and Noah Fant's an Iowa guy.
Tight end
I did not know Iowa had turned into tight end U.
Yeah, exactly. I saw the same thing. It's an amazing position because, they're blocking, but they're also involved in the passing game so much. It's amazing. Talk about a wide receiver that is surely missed. San Francisco 49ers off to a super hot start. I think they've dropped or lost the last 2 games. They've obviously, McCaffrey's on fire. He was able to play. He had an oblique strain, but got back in the game on, what did they play Monday night? Just recently they played Monday night, I believe. But Deebo Samuel, man, this guy is missed. This guy is a machine. He's got leg strength, but he's got a shoulder injury, and he did not play on Monday night. And he could be out on this coming weekend. So you think he's going to play?
I think he'll be a sit. They pretty much have said they expect at least 2 games. It's interesting because they had him out with x-rays, which they said were negative, and then subsequently they said he has a hairline fracture of the shoulder. So generally speaking, with that short timeline, and this is a little bit of a hypothesis, but with that short timeline, they probably got him an MRI of his shoulder. He probably has a very small cortical, which is the surface of the bone injury to the proximal humerus, which is generally a pretty well tolerated injury, like just a little bit above a bad bone bruise. So, any type of small hairline fracture, if it was actually, say, in his collarbone or his shoulder blade, I think they would probably keep him out longer. But because it's up in the humerus, I think give him 2 weeks to let it rest, treat it like a deep bone contusion, and then get him back out there.
Yeah, and I think they have a bye week 9, so if he does not play this weekend, week 8, it gives him 2 weeks, 2 full weeks to rest. So I would say he's a sit this weekend going into week 8, and that's what you're saying at the same time. But I do want to ask you a question. Do we remember? I don't remember this mechanism of injury. Was this? Did he fall on it like outstretched, or was this like a subluxation, potentially a subluxation? Is this, when you talk about a small lesion or fracture, you're not referring to like a Hill-Sachs type lesion on the femoral head? The humeral head, right?
Yeah, no, I think this was a direct blow directly onto the shoulder. So I think it was like a compression injury more than anything else. So exactly. So I don't think we're worried about instability issues with him in the long run.
Right.
But that's definitely a valid point. A lot of times they'll get those small injuries, like you said, that impaction injury to the humeral head, or sometimes a small fracture to the socket, to the glenoid as well.
Yeah.
But again, so the timeline of that would generally be different. So yeah, like I said, I think we're looking at something that's probably just sort of a little small cortical irregularity, and showed up as a bright spot on the MRI, so they know it's a legit injury, but not one that structurally requires stabilization.
Got it. As a surgeon, I mean, just tell our listeners, because we hear about, I just want to kind of talk about this cartilage, this cartilage that covers our joints. It's a very resilient material, but it can be fractured when it has a contusion. And that fracture, when you're in there, and that cartilage, is it resilient but soft? And when it becomes fractured, the concern is that it lacks a good blood supply. Is that fair in saying? And that's why you have to watch these things heal?
Yeah, exactly. If that injury is in what's called the subchondral bone, the bone that's right underneath that cartilage, you're exactly right. The cartilage had to get hit hard enough to transmit the energy through it. And it is somewhat spongy. It's a little bit soft. It has a little bit of give to it, but it can affect the blood supply beneath it. And there's actually small cells called chondrocytes that live in what's called the matrix, and they provide support. So if you get hit hard enough, the fancy term for those chondrocytes dying is apoptosis. And so if you get apoptosis of those cells, what happens is the nutrient flow is compromised. So that cartilage matrix can start to break down. You can have advanced arthritic issues. It's something we often talk about with our young patients that have an ACL injury, that have a large bony contusion in their knee. That's an injury that happened that may have sequelae, whether it's 6 months, 9 months, a year, 5 years down the line. Even if they get great outcome from, their rehab and their surgery, that's something that we have to prep them for. It could be a problem in the future.
Yeah, there you go. To our listeners right there, welcome to Bone Physiology 101. Dr. Hawkins, thank you for that thorough description. Between volcanoes and bone physiology, that's why I was always enamored with science. I just love science and talking about the human body, particularly. It is an amazing piece of machinery. Our human body is just fascinating, how it heals, repairs, and what it goes through. When you talk about going through, just look at these football players every week and that contact that they have, and that body stands up to it for the most part. Here's a guy, Chase Edmonds, running back, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's coming back from IR. He's been on injured reserve. I believe he had a knee problem. Sounds like a sprained MCL. I think we might have mentioned him back in week 2. I think he had a grade 2 MCL back then. But here we are going into week 8. He's coming back. So he's probably going to play. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he's a unique one for our show in that he is going to play, but I would not play him in your fantasy league because he's a first game back. They have 2 other backs that have been doing reasonably well. And they will probably work him in. It's like Jonathan Taylor coming back after that long sit out with the Colts. His first game, he got limited reps. Second game, they increased him 50% more. So Chase Edmonds will be somebody, if you got him, get ready to start playing him, but don't put him in your lineup this week. Give him 1 week to see how much they use him, and then go from there.
Thinking like not only a sports medicine surgeon, but also a true coach right there, Dr. Hawkins, a true coach. Good work. Well, that's our players for week 8, going into week 8 here of our Start or Sit podcast. Look forward to next week chatting a little bit more. Dr. Hawkins, what's the big plan this weekend? Watching a little football, or who's Philly play? Who's your Eagles play?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm living in the moment. I'm kind of a little depressed for my extended family after the Phillies blew it last night against the Diamondbacks.
That's right.
So yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's a sad day. It's been a bad run of end of year outcomes now between last year and this year with the Eagles and the Phillies last year, now the Phillies this year. So yeah, Philadelphia feels very hurt and sad. So the rest of the country's probably fine with it, but I've got a lot of extended family that is in mourning today.
I apologize for that. That was the first Game 7 I think Philly's ever been in. If I read something on the sports, it's first Game 7. in history that Phillies have been in. Is that right? Maybe, I don't know.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Here's what I recommend with today's kind of modern air flight and travel and shipping. Why don't you call your local Philly cheesesteak sandwich place back in Philadelphia and get one sent out for you, and that might bring calmness to you, huh? How's that sound?
Yeah, definitely. My wife would definitely go for that.
Okay. All right. Dr. Hawkins, have a great day. Thank you for your time. Look forward to talking next week, okay? Go Seahawks.